In a small Brazilian town called Itaguaí, there once lived the greatest man of science the country had ever produced. With his own money, he built a house to hold every madman in the town, and then he set out, very carefully, very rigorously, to decide who belonged inside it. By the time he was finished, he had locked up 4 out of every 5 of his neighbors, let them all go again in a single afternoon, and arrived by flawless logic at one inescapable conclusion: that the only madman in all of Itaguaí was the doctor himself. So he walked into his own asylum and locked the door behind him. His name was Simon Bacamarte, and by every account, he was magnificent. He had studied in Portugal, astonished the universities, and been offered a place at the side of the king himself. And he had turned it all down and come home to little Itaguaí. Because what interested Bacamarte was not glory, it was truth. He even married by it. He chose his wife, Doña Evarista, not for beauty, she had none to speak of, but because he had calculated that she was ideally built to give him strong and healthy children. She gave him none. It was the first time the doctor's science let him down. It would not be the last. He turned his attention from the body to the mind, to the great unmapped country of madness. And he proposed to the town council a building such as Brazil had never seen. A place where the insane would no longer be hidden away in back rooms or jeered at in the street, but gathered together, studied, and cured by science. They raised it on the main square, a long, low house with a row of green shuttered windows. The people of Itaguaí called it the Casa Verde, the greenhouse. And at first, they were proud of it. In went the raving and the violent, and the town nodded. This was what an asylum was for. But Bacamarte was only beginning. The more he studied, the more he found. Madness, he decided, was not some rare bolt of lightning. It was everywhere, in small doses, in quiet forms, folded inside lives that looked perfectly ordinary. And a true scientist does not look away from a truth because it is inconvenient. So the doors of the greenhouse opened wider. In went a man who had given away his entire fortune to anyone who asked, a disorder of generosity. In went a man who could not stop admiring himself in the mirror, and another who could not stop talking, and one who loved his wife too much, and one who did not love her enough. Vanity, grief, devotion. Honesty carried too far. One by one, the doctor found the madness hidden inside each of them, and one by one, they disappeared behind the green windows. Soon there was hardly a family in Itaguaí that had not lost someone to the greenhouse. 4 of every 5 people in the town were inside it. The pride had curdled into terror. When the doctor came down the street now, people studied their own shoes and prayed they were ordinary enough to be left alone. At last the town did what frightened people do. It revolted. A barber named Porfirio, razor still in his hand, climbed onto a balcony and called the people to arms against the tyrant and his madhouse. A mob gathered. The governor sent soldiers to break it, and the soldiers, listening to the barber, changed sides and joined it. Porfirio won. He seized the town. For one shining moment, the people had thrown off the doctor and his greenhouse forever. And then the new ruler considered the asylum and thought how very useful it might be to have a place to put one's enemies, and decided to leave it standing exactly where it was. The revolution changed the man at the top. It never touched the house. It never does. And then, at the height of his power, the town in his fist and 4/5 of it in his cells, Simone Bacamarte sat down with his records and began to doubt. The numbers troubled him. If 4 people in 5 were mad, then madness was not the exception. It was the rule. It was normal. And how can a thing that is normal, a thing nearly everyone has, be a disease? The doctor followed the logic where it led, the way he always had, without flinching. If imbalance is the ordinary condition of mankind, then the truly abnormal, the genuinely rare, the real disorder is perfect balance, a flawless mind, a person of complete, unshakable reason. That was the madman his science had been missing all along. And so, in a single afternoon, Bacamarte threw open the doors of the greenhouse and set every last lunatic free. And then he began again, from the opposite end. Now he hunted the well-adjusted, the modest, the loyal, the honest, the patient, the wise. He committed the town councillor everyone admired for his perfect moderation. He committed the good and gentle priest. He committed his own dearest friend. To be virtuous now was to be sick. To be perfectly sane was the surest symptom of all. And the people of Itaguaí, who had spent a whole year praying to be ordinary enough to stay out of the greenhouse, now prayed to be flawed enough. But here the doctor's own rigor turned against him. Because the moment he looked closely at one of these perfect people, really looked, he always found the crack. The patient priest lost his temper. The honest man told one small lie. The modest counsellor, it turned out, was rather proud of his modesty. None of them was flawless after all. Each, on inspection, was as cracked and ordinary as everyone else. And so, by his own iron rule, each had to be let go. One by one, the greenhouse emptied a second time, until it stood entirely empty, and Bacamarte was left holding a theory that demanded one perfectly balanced human being, and not a single specimen left to put in it. Not one. So the doctor did the only thing his science allowed. He turned the instrument around and pointed it at himself. And he examined Simone Bacamarte as coldly as he had examined every soul in Itaguaí. Was he honest? Entirely. Patient? Always. Modest, loyal, temperate, wise. Free of vanity, free of excess, governed in all things by reason? Yes. He searched and searched for the saving flaw, the small crack that had freed all the others, and in himself he could not find one. There he stood, the single most perfectly balanced mind in all of Itaguaí, which is to say, by the only science he trusted, the only madman left in it. And Simone Bacamarte was nothing if not consistent. He walked into the greenhouse, and he locked the door behind him. He lived there alone, his own physician and his own patient, for 17 months. And then he died, peaceful, certain, and entirely uncured. The Chronicle of Itaguaí records that the town never did decide whether the doctor had been a genius or a lunatic, though a few quietly came to believe he had been right all along. that he truly had been the only madman the town ever held, and that he had been mad from the very first day. The morning he first believed that a man with enough reason could tell the sane from the mad, and know for certain which side of the line he himself stood on.